everybody, it's Romania Black, and this may be a bad decision, but Wine Chan is going to join us tonight. No, here's the thing. I recorded something earlier today, and I just finished, and I decided that while I had incorporated Wine Chan for that reaction, I would just power through and keep going for Monster because I'm terrified. We have 4 episodes left, bitches. 4 episodes left. We have 71, 72, 73, 74. That's it. That's all we got. That's all she wrote. And I'm not ready for this damn series to end. No, you would think, Romania, you've been watching 71 weeks worth of a show, like over a year and a half. You've been watching Monster week to week. Aren't you ready to be done with it? No, I'm not, because it's getting really good. And there's only 4 episodes left, and everybody's gathered together, and Lunge is there, and Grimmer is there, and Tenma is there, and Nina's on her way, and we haven't seen Johan, but Roberto is there, and he's sleazy and gross, and people have guns, and now Lunge's Rambo, and I'm just really terrified. So I was like, well, maybe having a glass of wine will help. Or make it substantially worse. I don't know. Maybe. So it's just like the discussion is just me passed out like at the floor, like right over there. No, but I'm terrified of this episode. But we've got some comments to get through before we start this madness. Last episode was crazy. Surprising no one. We're at the climax of Monster. Why would we think it'd be anything but that? And I fully believe that like these next 3 episodes are going to be insanity. And then the final episode is just going to be like, ugh, I don't know how they're ending this. I don't know how they can. In the dark. Don't know how it's going to end. But that's what we're here for, right? Right? So I did want to comment on a few things. One, I Swallow Apple Seeds talked about that there is a ship name for Lunge and Grimmer, and it's the most amazing thing ever. And why I didn't think of this last week, I don't know. But it's grunge. It's Grimmer, Gur, and Lunge, the Unge, only it's instead of grunge, it's literally grunge. They're grunge. Why was I not thinking about that? It's amazing. And I love how I Swallow Apple Seeds talked about how they both started out, Grimmer and Lunge, as kind of more like emotionless and colder characters. But through inadvertently knowing Tenma or following Tenma or getting to know him, they've become these more warmer, more human characters. It's crazy. It's like, you know, we've talked about how everybody that Johan encounters seems to become devoid of emotion. He like is a vampire, literally sucking the emotions out of them. Whereas Tenma is the opposite, and he's giving people hope, and he's inserting these emotions into them. Or in the case of Grimmer, inserting himself into, we're going to stop. I'm just going to get my mind out of the gutter. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, I do like the contrast of what Johan has done for characters versus what Tenma has done. And the idea that Lunge and Grimmer are grunge. Best ship name. Freaking love it. H Banana 7 talks about how when Kinderheim was having its riots, Johan was supposedly just adding oil to the fire, which is just like this situation here in Ruhenheim. You know what else is fun about that? Is the fact that you could say that Bonaparte has been using oil paints in his paintings. So is there adding oil to the fire as well? I don't know. But I do like the idea that this is literally, Johan was using Kinderheim as a prototype. He was just getting these people all together and then just causing chaos, and just, he throws the match onto the oil fire and then it just explodes. And you could argue that the Turkish district was the exact same thing too. So, meh. Yeah. And then Death to Boredom talked about how Bonaparte went back to his homeland. Johan's been to Prague, so he's technically been back to his homeland, but he didn't seem to find... We know Bonaparte went back to his homeland to reconcile. Now we know that. We know Johan went back to his homeland and I guess reconciled when he burnt out the Red Rose Mansion. But then there's the concept of Tenma. Would Tenma go back to Japan? That is, you know what? Of all the things, and maybe the rest of this series will address it by the end. Maybe they'll address it. Maybe they'll just leave it in the dark and we'll never know. One thing that I really thought at the beginning of the series that was going to get expanded upon was Tenma's backstory. and his childhood, because when he's in the library, it's referenced. They reference the kids making fun of him and calling him a scaredy cat and that he was wetting his pants. And he kind of like seems, sort of like, yeah, that was the case, wasn't it? But we never really go back to that. We never really talk about it. And the idea that Tenma never goes home and sees his family, we don't ever talk about that. So I don't know if it's something that the series is going to address by the end of it, but it's very interesting that this character from Japan, this is a manga, this is a Japanese piece of fiction, but the one Japanese character doesn't go back to their home and doesn't want to go back to their home for whatever reason. So I don't know. It's very curious. It's just a very curious thing. And I honestly, at this point in the story, expected us to go back to it, especially since it was brought up so soon. I thought that maybe it was just like setting a foundation for things to come later, but apparently not. So I don't know. But in any case, I'm super excited to dive into this episode. I want to give a real quick shout out to our Philanthropy tier before we start, because they support me and allow me to get the manga, which I'll talk about volume 9 when we finish. I'll have a week after before we start the newest series, a week where we kind of review Monster, because it's been a long time coming, right? But we're going to talk about that. So a special shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Anime Annie, to Be Happy, to Dana, to Destiny Marie, to Danger Zone, to Eric, to Kiri, to Loisaji, aka Frogman, to Lyndon, to Nameless Monster, to Matthew Palfinier, to Murphew, to Shimoyama, to Sunspots, to Trails, Translucent, Min, Nicholas, Schlapalot, and to Mateo El Fidel. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, Wine Chan was probably a mistake, but you know what? Maybe this will quell my nerves or hype me up beyond all belief, and then I'll just crash and burn later. Probably the latter. But I've not watched any previews. I don't know what's coming. I don't want to know what's coming. But we can't stop now. We have to know. We have 4 episodes left. So, I hope you guys are excited as I am. We're going to start episode 71 of Monster. We're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And I'll see you all on the other side. Y'all expect me to feel in this episode? Son of a bitch! I had all the hope in the world that when Tenma got there and made it to that building, he was going to be like, oh yeah, I can save you, Grimmer. And they were just going to patch him up and leave him in the chair and be like, hey, we're going to come back. And then it was going to be like, hey, bye. We'll be back after we save Lunge from Roberto. See ya. And then he was going to come back at the end and be like, hey, oh my God, you made it. Everything's great. That is not what happened. Okay. I'm good now. No, I'm not. I'm not good. I'm never going to be good. I'm never going to be good. Grimmer is such a fucking good character. He showed up in episode what? 40? Episode 40? Episode 38, 39, 40? One of those two? I think it was 38. Was it episode 38? It was one of those. He shows up, steals the show, becomes the best character, then he pieces out for a while after he helps Sook, after he helps Tenma, then comes back, saves Milosh, pieces out again, and then comes back here for the end, and we're going to talk about him in this episode and all the things that happened to him, but he was such a freaking good character. Okay. I've drank all Wine Chan now, so there's no going back. It's done deal. I'm going to chug water after this because I can already feel like it's going to be it's going to be a great discussion for you all. You all will probably enjoy this, but son of a bitch. So yeah, just people dying left and right. the witnesses that could have explained where they got the guns from, who gave them the guns, they're gone. And the crazy thing is, again, we talk about this last episode, we don't know. Johan's not here. As far as we know, Johan is hiding. He is sitting on top of the mountain like he was at Kinderheim, sitting on his little throne, watching everyone kill one another. And then when it's all said and done, he's just going to pick up the pieces and move on. But it's like he's not even involved as far as we know. For all we know, the grandparents, it's Roberto that's their grandchild. Now we think it's Johan, but it could have been Roberto this whole time. But they're dead. So we can't ask them questions. Those witnesses are gone. Thank God Wim is okay. Bonaparte is still alive. We'll talk about Bonaparte. I have a lot I want to say about Bonaparte. But the one woman, she's injured. The husband's injured. The Lotto couple is injured, but they're not dead yet. But son of a bitch. And Lunge was giving me all of the vibes of that one hunter in Jurassic Park that goes after the velociraptors. And he's like, they can see us coming. They know we're here. Like, Lunge has that vibe. So I don't know if Lunge is going to make it. It's Lunge versus Roberto. I mean, Lunge is batshit crazy enough that he might live, but he also told Tenma he was sorry and he had to go do work, but he was going to come back and talk to him. Lunge may die. I'm not ready for this. If Tenma's the only one that ends up living, like Tenma and Nina end up living, and Lunge and all the rest die, I'm worried about Rudy, because Rudy doesn't have a weapon. He don't know what to do. Nina, I don't know. I think she's going to live, but I don't know. Lunge I'm terrified for, because Roberto, and there's other people hiding out in the hotel that could shoot him just like that one guy tried to. It's insanity right now, and we only have 3 episodes left. Let's get through this episode. Oh my God. I'm still like in a state of shock. So yeah, they zombie apocalypse horde the F out of this place. Grimmer's never looked better than he does in this episode. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. I'm like, at least the animation team was like, yeah, we're about to kill him off, but we're going to make him look damn good for you. So I hope you're ready. And I was ready. Absolutely. Always am ready. I'm so pissed he's dead. So then Bonaparte, he's like, if they just, if you just let me die, everything will stop. And Grimmer's like, F no, you're not dying. You're going to see this through. I think it's important that Bonaparte is seeing all these people die. And I think Grimmer was like a breaking point for Bonaparte, for him being like, for realizing the damage he's caused, like one of these Kinderheim kids, and how he finally got his humanity back at the end of it all. And that emotion and his speech and everything, I was just like a mess. And then Bonaparte starts crying. And I was like, I guess you get the right to cry because you helped foster this whole thing. I'm glad I'm glad you're seeing this, right? Oh my God. But Grimmer just looking so just done when he looks at Poppy, when he looks at Bonaparte. He looks so done with him, and he's like, you don't get to get out of this easy. You caused this mess. You're seeing it through, right? He's like, you have to survive and tell everyone everything. Well, now he has to, because no one else is alive, right? Oh my God. And then he was just being like, Wim, stay in the room. And he's like, if anything happens, he's like, don't worry. He's like, when you're in a pinch, no matter where you are, he'll come and save you. He's the invincible, magnificent Steiner. But the fact that at the end of the day, when he could have succumbed to that other side of him that was fostered by Kinderheim, the fact that he chose to be himself, that he chose to have his own anger and his own emotion at that woman dying, and to act on that, it didn't make him invincible, but it made him human. And it made him himself. And it's like, it's one of those things like, do you want to live as this monster? Or do you want to die as a human? And Grimmer chose to die as a human. And it's so freaking sad. Ugh. And that's what the episode's called. And then Bonaparte being like, Bonaparte realizing, I love that there's this conflict with Bonaparte where when he says this about the Magnificent Steiner, before it fades to the OP, you see Bonaparte and he looks conflicted. he has this like, his brow is furrowed. He's like the magnificent Steiner. And then he puts two and two together and realizes that Grimmer's one of those children that developed a multiple personality to deal with the trauma that was administered on him. And he's like, oh, that's what this is. And then for Grimmer at the end to say, no, I didn't have to use Steiner for this. I was myself. I'm not ready to read it in the manga. I'm really not. I'm just, so let's get past this OP. Oh my God. This episode was just, I'm glad I had Wine Chan for this, because otherwise I don't think I would have been able to make it through it. The Wrath of the Magnificent Steiner. So throughout this, we have Tenma walking around. I'm sorry, Buzzed Romania was a little bit like, oh my God. But the scene where Tenma is getting the man and the children to run into the woods, if you've watched the 1968 Disney 101 Dalmatians, like the old 2D animation movie, there's a scene where they're walking through the snow and Pongo and Purdy, the two dogs, are trying to get the kids out, and they're leading them through the snow, and they're all leading their little foot tracks and stuff. That scene reminded me exactly of it, and so that's why I was like freaking out. I was like, it's just like 101 Dalmatians and Tenma's Pongo. I like that this one guy was originally not going to follow the kids into the woods, and Tim was like, bitch, get out of here. Like, you can't stay here. And he's like, oh, well, maybe I could. Tim was like, go on. Just, oh my God. And the fact that all of this is happening in the rain, now that Grimmer has said that, I want the sun to come out at the end of this. Like, whatever happens by the end, I want the sun to come out. I want Timma to go on an effing picnic. I don't care if it's with Lunge. I don't care who it's with. Just a picnic, have a beer. Ugh. Damn. I'm still not over it. And so that's when Timma asks where Klaus Poppy is. And they're like, oh, he's the owner of the Versteck Hotel. And Timma's like, imagine that. And then, oh my God. So there's these bodies everywhere. Just the streets littered with bodies, and Lunge has a rifle and is just walking down like the biggest badass you've ever seen in your life. And I can't. I'm just, it's so good. And it's just like Lunge just looking around nonchalantly. Lunge's animated amazing in this episode, by the way. And that's when he sees the woman that was with Roberto that doesn't know what to do. And I know what it's trying to do, but the fact that he had the gun pointed right at the camera and he's like, relax, I'm a friend. And it's Lunge saying that to you. It's like, oh, I feel so reassured now. I feel so at ease. There's this big booming voiced receding hairlined man pointing a gun at me that's like, no, we're good. I'm a friend. I like that I'm a friend is the universal code for like, I'm not going to kill you. We're good. But it is. And you could say there's some symbolism to them saying I'm a friend, meaning that I'm connected to you. I want to be a part of your life. I'm a friend. I'm friendly. You can make that connection. But poor Sailor Moon, she just had the roughest time. And she's like, the man was giving orders from the hotel, and it was Roberto, and he kept coming in and out and taking a shower. And Lunge's like, okay, that's suspicious. That seems like a lead. Where is he? And she's like, oh, he's on the 4th floor. And I'm like, of course he's on the 4th floor. 4 is like the number of death, right, in Japan? Of course he's on the 4th floor. And she's like, there are a bunch of people hiding there at the hotel. And he tells her to get up, and he like sends her on the way. But this moment where him and Tenma confront one another and they see each other, and it is like, when have they seen each other? The last time was when Lunge like zombie attacked his car, right? And Tenma saved him, right? That was like back in episode, what, 20? Like 40 episodes ago? A year ago? And the way that it zooms in on Lunge, and he's like, son of a bitch, there he is. And Tenma's like, hey, how's it going? Here we are. And this is the insane. And then Lunge at that moment goes, oh, okay. He straightens up and he goes, all right, vacation's over. I'm like, what do you mean vacation's over? And he's like, Dr. Tenma. And Tenma's like, Inspector Lunge, imagine meeting you here. This is the wildest part, right? This is the wildest part of it all. He says the illusion has finally become reality. This person that I've been chasing that seemed like a ghost is here. This is the mind-blowing part, okay? Because Lunge this entire time has been like, there is no Johan. It's all just Tenma. And Johan is just a figment of our imaginations. It's just a persona of Tenma. And we, the audience, are like, no, Johan is real. He's been dressing in drag, fooling everybody, doing all sorts of crazy stuff, but he's real. But from Lunge's perspective, Johan's not here. Tenma is here. And from Lunge's perspective, Johan was looking for Bonaparte. Tenma is looking for Bonaparte. So the crazy thing is that you have Tenma and Johan, who are both looking for the same people, who have both come to town. They're not seen together. So by Lunge's standards, yeah, Johan doesn't exist. It's all been Tenma the whole time. But we, the audience, know Johan's trying to kill everyone. Tenma's trying to save everyone. So there's that contrast and that duality, and it is mind-blowing. And for Lunge to say the illusion has become reality. Now that you are here, the vacation I took to pull the threads of that illusion together are over. He's like, no. He's like, you've come. I took this vacation off to tie all these threads together to see if you'd show up, and here you are. Oh my God. And Tim was like, what vacation? He's like, as of now, I'm on duty as an officer of the law. It's been a long time since I've been on duty. And his eyes kind of like squint at that. He's like, it's been a long time since I've been on duty. I've been on a long vacation, basically. And Tim was like, I love Tim's expression, like, the fudge are you talking about? He's like, I don't know what's happening. And then he's like, take the girl. The man you're after is at the Versteck Hotel. And it's like one of those things like, okay, the man you're after. Are we talking about Grimmer? Are we talking about Bonaparte? He's like, no, the Bonaparte is at the hotel. And then that's when Tim was like, yeah, him. And Lunge's like, okay. And I'm glad that Tim said Franz Bonaparte, because Lunge's like, okay, yep, confirmed in my head. The thing that's so mind-blowing is that in any other scenario 20, 40 episodes ago, Lunge would have dropped the girl, let whatever happened happen to her, and would have gone after Tenma and be like, I'm taking you into custody as an officer of the law. You're under arrest and we're going to leave. But this Lunge is different, and he's developed since then, and things have happened. And now he's like, okay, Tenma's going to face Bonaparte. That plot point is going to get wrapped up, and he could save this girl while doing it. Roberto is still out there killing people. As a man of the law, I've got to go get him. And the thing about it is Lunge was going to go to the hotel anyway. So he ends up going to do what he was going to do anyway, except now it's just seeing Lunge's growth to the point where he's like, yeah, I'm going to go after Roberto now. You take care of the woman. It's like, and he starts walking away. And the girl looks at Tenma, and Tenma's like, where are you going? And then he says, I told you, work. And I like that he frames it as work, like I'm going back to the police station, but he ends up going to the hotel to go after Roberto. And then he says, if I make it back, I want to talk with you. I want Lunge to make it back, damn it, so he can talk with Tenma. I want that to happen, damn it. I have a lot of questions I want to ask you. And Tenma's like, yeah, I know. You've said that before. And then he turns around and he says, Dr. Tenma, I'm sorry. Like, for Lunge to say that he's sorry, for Lunge to admit that he was wrong about something, I think Lunge is going to die. I think that's death flag number 1. Lunge apologizing to Tenma and then saying, if I make it back, I want to talk to you. That's death flag number 2. I don't want to lose Lunge too. Damn it. And Tenma is all of us just being like, what the fudge? And then Lunge just walking in the rain with the rifle in hand. This whole setting of the climax being in the pouring down rain is just so unsettling. And if you've ever been stuck out in the rain all day, you just feel cold, you feel damp, you don't even feel like yourself anymore. You don't feel human anymore. And it's just like that being embodied in these episodes, building this climax. It is freaking incredible. And I'm heartbroken still, and we're not even to Grimmer yet. So yeah, he walks away. Meanwhile, Rudy and Nina, I just feel like I always relate to Rudy because Rudy always looks like he's just on the edge. Like they're driving and Nina's like, I'm having all these memories. It's really bad. And Rudy's like, I really hope you don't go Steiner and run me off the road. I really hope that doesn't happen. Oh my God, Rudy is just like Rudy is one accident away from it losing it all. But she says there's this final memory. She doesn't want to remember it. But if Johan has this memory, and if he can remember it, then it's a problem, right? She's like, if he can remember it, then she's like, there's this one memory I don't want to remember, but if he can, then it's a problem. So I feel like we're going to find out what that last memory is. It's just going to take us a little bit of time. But then we have this one scene. The one thing I wanted to pause on is this scene, and it's Johan opening up his eyes, and there's someone in a room. It looks like maybe it's the room where the painting was in the Red Rose Mansion, like where he ends up putting the painting of Anna. But it looks like it could be Bonaparte. It's a man with brown hair, right? And then there's someone next to the window. Johan's holding something, right? What is it? Or it's a man. It looks like it's Johan. I think it's Johan. But what is that? So who's he standing in front of? What is going on? Who is Johan standing in front of and what's happening? Is Johan in Ruhenheim or not? And who is he with? Show. You're not going to tell us till the next episode at least, right? Oh, we have 3 episodes left. We only have 3 episodes left. Done. Oh my God. So yeah, meanwhile, back at the hotel, Lunge comes in and going after the person, seeing the person. This whole animation sequence of Lunge, like the way that the camera like followed Lunge and like rotated around him. And when he nearly got shot in the one place, when the guy wouldn't lift up his arm, I was like, damn. And Lunge ain't playing. Lunge did not hesitate. When that guy reached the gun, Lunge was like, pop, bam. Like, Tenma would have, like, taken 20 seconds. Lunge's like, nah, not having that. And it's one of the guns that has the star on it that the elderly couple were giving out, right? And Lunge putting the gun in his mouth and making him talk with it. There were a lot of moments I was like, I will let Lunge and Grimmer do whatever they want. We're good. Lunge, though, I'm not physically attracted at all to Lunge. I'm like, nah. But Grimmer, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, him being like, I'm asking where Roberto is. And he says it's upstairs. So then Tenma's like trying to get the one girl, Sailor Moon, to like get up and go with him. And she's being problematic and not wanting to run and not wanting to go. She reminds me a lot of like in her whining, kind of like how Eva was at the very beginning of the series. And I was like, Tenma, you're used to this. You should be fine with this, right? And Tenma's like, son of a bitch. But I like that we have the juxtaposition. Tenma leaves with the children. And that gives her the chance to go meet with Grimmer and get killed. So, but God, and again, walking up the stairs, that staircase that Lunge walks up reminds me of the staircase where Grimmer met Johan, reminds me of when Johan came down the staircase after killing Petrov. It is very a distinctive staircase, the staircase that Richard and Johan went up. I'm just saying, it is. And we have Lunge going to the edge of that damn door. The dark hallways with one little door open and the water is running, making you think that, because there's a number of things that happen. We don't really get to see what happens with Grimmer, or what happens with Lunge, after this moment. We don't know what happens to Lunge after this moment. So, couple things. One, Is Roberto actually taking a shower? We don't know. I don't think so. 2, is Roberto running the water to make it seem like he's taking a shower so that he can ambush Lunge? Possibly. Or 3, has someone already killed Roberto and he's in the shower and the shower's running, kind of like what happened with Baby? It could be any 3 of those scenarios. But Lunge going up to the door, oh my God. I thought that like a gunshot was going to like rip his ear off, right? Because he turns the door and it's just like the damn room that Eva and were in, where you gotta go around the corner to see somebody fully. Like there's a blind spot. Oh, I don't like that shot of Lunge where his face is perfectly illuminated. Nope. Oh my God. And then we go back to Tenma and we hear the gunshot. I know. We don't know what happened to him. The animation in this episode reminds me a lot of Death Note. And I don't know if it's the same animation studio, but the animation reminds me a lot of Death Note. And it's really good. I'm loving the animation, but this episode. So yeah, so Tenma ends up going and finding the couple, right? And the poor, like this woman's been shot and he's just stuck with her baby. And what's interesting here is the man asks for a gun so they can go get revenge on her. And Tenma's like, no, your wife wouldn't want that. Instead of blindly going, what are you going to do? Fire a gun with a baby in your arms? Like, what are you doing? He's like, instead of like going to get revenge, why don't you focus on living and your child in your arms? Because that's probably what your wife would have wanted you to take priority over. So then, yeah, he freaks out. And Tenma's like, what do we do? And he's like, your wife wouldn't have wanted that. Like, Tenma is like this guardian angel over all these people. And he's like, I'll show you the way. Tenma is like just freaking a saint, right? Just saving people. And again, it's what Grimmer told him that he needed to do, is save people. Don't hurt people, save them. I won't be surprised at this point if Johan kills himself, but we'll see. He's like, you should forget about the hotel and take the road. And he's like, I don't want to go anywhere. And he's like, well then fine, take the road. Meanwhile, these damn windows, let me tell you, this scene where the couple, the man's talking about how the people aren't after their lottery winnings. I was so wrong about them. I thought that they were going to be the catalyst to cause all of this. And they're like not even a thing. They're like not even a problem. They're perfectly fine. Just what a red herring, right? He's got the hat on, red hat, red herring figures. But I swear, this series will make you not want to stand next to a window and not get in a car ever again. Because if you get in a car, bad things happen. If you stand next to a window, bad things happen. Because everybody getting sniped out of these windows. And the fact that it happens to Sook, the fact that it happens to him, and Grimmer has to witness both of it, it's like window PTSD, right? But damn, like Grimmer's face in all of this and the way it was illuminated. And then we see the couple got killed. And then Bonaparte, of course, Bonaparte and Wim are fine. And there's a storage room under the kitchen. Yeah. Now, Wim says that his dad ended up causing all of this. But hell, as far as we've seen, his dad hasn't shot anybody or done anything. So, and I like that Grimmer tells him, like, no, your dad is not responsible for this. Hell, his dad may be the one that saved somebody by the end of it. That would be poetic justice. Would be like the town alcoholic ends up saving the main character or something from a threat. That would be interesting. But Grimmer's like, no, your dad. Now, granted, I do feel really bad for Wim when he says his dad beats him up. And Grimmer's like, no. That shot of Grimmer in the light, where he's like, do you think he'd go this far? And the shot of Grimmer holding his shoulders and the light's casting down on him and he looks like a freaking angel. I'm fine. He's like, and that's when Bonaparte says, it'll end if I give myself up. And I think Grimmer's like, hell to the no, you're not sacrificing yourself. And then when he grabs him, and when he holds him up next to his hand, we're going to talk about this, all right? There were two things that made me think that Grimmer might die in this episode, and I was really hoping that it wasn't going to happen, but there were two things. One, in hindsight, we're going to talk about it at the end of this episode, but I was like, we're going to talk about that at the end. But the other thing was, and I'm going to put up here, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 spoilers, because they are. So, okay. Y'all know we're on Jujutsu Kaisen spoilers now, so you've been warned. But y'all know how much I love Nanami Kento, right? Mm-hmm. You've all seen Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 if you're reading this and listening to this, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you know that he gets to look the best he's ever looked and be the most badass he's ever been before he dies, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the moment that Grimmer picks up Bonaparte and has this sultry, badass, just stone cold fox look on his face like, bitch, have you been listening to me this entire time? It was giving me Nanami Kento vibes so much. And I was like, all right, show. All right. What you're telling me is Akutami based Nanami off of Grimmer. That's what you're telling me. And so I was like, he's going to die. He's the hottest he's ever looked. End of Jujutsu Kaisen spoilers. He's the hottest he's ever looked, so he's gonna die. That's what that was red flag number one. So red flag number one that our dear boy Grimmer was gonna die is he looks amazing in this shot. And I was like, they're making him the best he's ever looked because they're gonna kill him. They've made Lunge the best he's ever looked, and now I'm afraid they're gonna kill him off. And I'm like, why? Why? All the people that know about Bonaparte and everything, they gotta die. Why? But yeah, Grimmer's like, don't make me say it again. I won't let you die. If you say it again, I'll tie you down here. He's like, I'll come up with something. And that's when he says, didn't I tell you if there's trouble, Mr. Steiner will come. And that's when Bonaparte talks about the experiments. And he said these children tend to have extreme personalities and be extremely violent. And many of them committed suicide. And then when that line he says, you've done well to live this long. That should have been a red flag too, being like, wow, thanks Bonaparte for jinxing him to death. Great. But I love that Steiner was like, he wasn't committing suicide. Steiner wanted to live, but he also wanted to save people. And for Grimmer, y'all know what I mean. And then he goes out there and then he just walks out unarmed and he says he wants to talk. If you were former Stacy. So I don't know what Stacy means. I don't care if you were former Stacy. I want to look that up real quick and hopefully it's not going to. Oh, it's the German Democratic Republic, police agency of the German Democratic Republic. It was one of the most hated and feared institutions of the East German communist government. Oh, okay. Well, interesting. Okay, and it ceased operations in 1990. Interesting. I guess it's talking about them being Nazis. I guess. Interesting. Or maybe not Nazis. I was reading that on that article real quick. If there was a difference between them. I wonder if the manga goes in more detail about that. We'll hold off on that. We'll wait on that. See if we get anything else. He's like, I'm not from anywhere. And then he tells him to, do what you got to do. What are you doing? And as he's walking, that's when she gets shot. The moment that he turns to look at her and is like, don't do this. And she gets shot. My heart. Crushed, y'all. And she dies. And that's when we have the magnificent Steiner. And he's like, every day I watch TV intensely, but I have no memory of the final episode. And the moment they do the final episode, I'm like, son of a bitch, he's going to die. Nope. And he gets drug away from the TV. Did that weak young man ever realize he turned into the magnificent Steiner when he got angry? Did he live happily ever after? I'm like, it means he's going to die. Oh, I hate it. And so then I love him just screaming and being like, I am not. I love that Grimmer's like, I'm not going to become Steiner. I'm going to take you on myself. and do it as a man, as a buff-ass, tall-ass man. So then the children and them run into Nina and Rudy. And Rudy gives him the car key. And he's like, help get people to the hospital. And Nina and them are like, we're going to go into town. And Rudy's like, that man is my friend. And I'm not going to leave him down. I'm like, what progress Rudy has made to Rudy not caring about Tenma back when we first met him, to being his friend and going into death to help him. I don't want Rudy to die. I don't want Lunge to die. I don't want Nina to die. I don't want any of them to die. No more. Let Grimmer be our sacrifice and let no one else die, please. But no, Tenma has to go up there. I thought for a second that Tenma was going to be the one to kill Grimmer. And I was like, Show, don't you be that cruel. Don't you be that cruel. No, no, no. But he gets shot. Yep. And he's like, Grimmer. He's like, I knew you'd come. Oh. And he got 4 on his own. He's like, no, I did it on my own with my own anger. And then he gives him the letter that Lunge gave him that he found at the Red Rose Mansion. Now, here's the problem. I'm sure it's the monster's letter. But the problem is that now that he has the letter, Lunge may live or he may die, right? We know Grimmer got shot in the shoulder. He's headed to the Berg Back Hotel by himself. And so Tenma looks down and he's like, he looks down at his wounds, right? And he's like, let me rest for a while. And there's a shot, yeah, right in his side there. Mm-hmm. Here's the other thing. The moment I saw them zoom in on that shot, I was like, oh, he's dead. And I say that not only because it's like, yeah, he's going to be dying, but like way back in like episode 50, like 50 or so, someone in the Discord shared a piece of fan art, and I don't remember who it was, but they shared a piece of fan art, and it was of Tenma and Grimmer like not anything sexual, but they were like lying down on a bed together, and they were like just being like, you know, like you wake up next to somebody, and Grimmer had his shirt up and you could see a scar right here. And I was like, I don't think Grimmer has a scar. So does that mean like that he gets shot or something and that Tenma saves him? Or what does that mean? And everybody in Discord was like, we don't know. It means nothing. Damage control. So yeah, that person, I mean, they just didn't check to see that it was a spoiler. And I was like, yeah, it's a spoiler. And so now it makes sense that, yeah, the moment I saw the bullet hole, I'm like, yeah, he's dead. Because that fan art was the what if they made it out together. And I'm like, damn it. And that's when it got me. I was like, shit, he's going to die. Because I thought maybe, but then Tenma looks at it like, there's no way, there's no bandages, there's nothing we can do to like stop the bleeding. It's over. And then he said, here's Franz Bonaparte. And poor Wim. Like, Wim seeing Grimmer die. And Grimmer having some, like, closure with his own son through Wim. I'm like, Tenma, you have Dieter. You have a Wim at home. You have Dieter. You can't die. You have to get back to that kid. He's like, it's been raining for quite some time. It'd be nicer if it cleared up. If it freaking clears up after this, I'm done. He says, right, Dr. Tenma? It'd be nicer if it cleared up. My heart. It's just breaking in a million pieces because Tenma's like, yeah. And he's like, when it gets sunny out, let's take Wim on a picnic together. I'm like, shut up! Quit saying those things! I'm getting sad all over again. Ugh. I'm like holding his head. He said, we'll have good wine and cheese. And then he starts crying. And then he's like, I'm not sad because I'm dying. He's like, he's sad because I lost my son. Because he like gave Wim the head pats and it reminded him of his own kid. I'm finally sad that my child died. Oh. And then, yeah, Bonaparte, it's like everything Bonaparte created is just like crashing down. He's like, people don't lose their emotions. My emotions just wandered around in an unknown place. That's such a line. It's like he's like, I didn't lose them. They were just in this limbo, but now they're here and they've just bubbled up. You can't make people forget their emotions. You can't make them disappear. Yeah. It's like a letter that was addressed to me decades ago has finally arrived. And the concept of letters, of communication, the letter he gives to Tenma, the letter that Bonaparte sent his son. Is this true sadness? Or is it happiness? Ugh. And then Tenma and Wim just sitting there with him. And Bonaparte in the final episode of The Magnificent Steiner. I bet he became human again. That line got me. That was just so freaking sad. Ugh. And that's when he dies. Shut up, and the hand falls. And of course, Wim is like, has the blood smeared on his face. Yeah. And he dies with his name Grimmer. And of course, Tenma is sad, and then Bonaparte cries. Falls to his knees. And he says, I. But he doesn't answer the statement. So yeah, you have Bonaparte and Wim crying over Grimmer. And Tenma's like, son of a bitch. I gotta go save Lunge now. Oh my god. Ugh. I have no wine left to toast. It's gone. I have to go chug some water. What else can I say? Grimmer was my favorite damn character. Maybe in the whole show. I didn't think he was going to make it. I thought he was going to die. He's one of those characters that you're just like, you're probably going to die because you're just too good. You're too good of a character to live, right? It just seemed like a narrative thing that had to happen, but I didn't know it would happen this way. And I didn't know that Tenma was going to see him die. And now Tenma's going to have to tell Lunge they can't have that beer together. And is Lunge going to die? Is Johan even there? Or are they going to kill Roberto and then look at each other and be like, what do we do now? I don't know. But this episode was so incredibly sad. And I'm mourning Grimmer now. Mourning him so hard. So I'm curious to know what you all think down below. Please, to baby Jesus, no spoilers for the last 3 episodes. Please, no spoilers. But if you want to talk about Grimmer down below or something else that does not have any spoiler hints or clues, I would appreciate it. But God, R.I.P. Grimmer. You were gone way too soon. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week with episode 72 of Monster. Bye.